Hello, everyone, coming into today's second Librarian live stream. I am going to do some introductions while people join us. I hope people join us. We had a great time last week. And I have to excuse me, my nose is super runny. I am Sarah Marks. I am the Assistant Director for Communications and User Experience here at UMass Lowell. And this is our weekly live stream to help you with your research questions and needs and support and whatever else comes up that is typically going to be library related, but we're going to talk about research issues, searching on the web, things like that. And this is just a brief introduction while people get started. This is going to be available after this hour on our YouTube channel. I encourage you to like the stream or the video if you're watching the replay and subscribe because we are working on videos that will be uploaded throughout the semester. We're updating old ones, we're creating new ones based on the questions you are asking us. And we're going to do these live streams not every week, but a lot of the weeks. And we'll talk about that at the end and when you can expect the next one and what we might be covering. Today, we are going to talk about health and nursing resources. So, hopefully, some of our health or nursing students will be able to get on and ask their specific questions. I have a few topics I want to talk about before we get into the searching right there. We're going to look at our databases around health and nursing and why you might pick them for your different searching needs. If you have questions, we're going to do the first half of discussion. If I typically have a guest with me, another librarian, this is when they would talk to me about some of these issues. And then our second half, it's just going to be me today. But in the second half of the hour, I'm going to focus on your questions. So put your questions into the chat. This does require you have your YouTube account logged in to submit a question in our chat. They're not going to be anonymous. The chat will be able to see them. But if you do not want this displayed on the screen when you ask it and then I answer it, just put a little don't display in like parentheses so that I can see it. I don't think we'll have such an overwhelming number of people that I will miss something. But if I do, I'll let you know. I can see the chat though. Don't worry about that. So, health and nursing resources. Research is a little different for our health and nursing students because there are some key things they have to keep in mind. First, you're probably being told by your professors that they don't want you to look at books. Why not? That's a really big thing that students come to us frustrated about, that there aren't a lot of books in our collection and they're being told not to use books. So what do they use? Why no books? The no books has to do with currency, and it's difficult to keep health and nursing books on our shelves because of this issue. And what currency means is that the research is being currently done. These are not cutting edge topics. They are typically things that are going on, but they are not being discussed too far out of the time frame. So if you're doing research on, say, COVID, you're going to find a lot written in the last 3 years. That's a very current topic, even now. But the farther we get from that pandemic, the older the content's going to be. And in about 5 years, it's not going to be a research topic the same way it will be when that happens. So if we find articles that are older than 5 years, we tend to disregard them because health research, especially, but the sciences in general, really move quickly with research. You will remember during the pandemic that a lot of research came out about COVID really quickly and the effects things were going to have on us and the effects that getting COVID might have on people because the scientists were doing the research in the moment and it was getting published very quickly. That means when something is proven incorrect, the old articles are irrelevant, and the researchers and your professors don't want them showing up in your results and in your searches and in your papers as cited sources. So we keep to this very narrow timeline. When other students do research and they're told to get current articles, most librarians will suggest a 10-year date range. Others might extend it depending on the field, like history currency isn't so much an issue because we're looking to the past. But when you're dealing with the health and the health resources and research, we get narrower with our time frame. We like 5 years for that kind of research. And I'll show you how to get those limited search results to your time frame and what to do when it's, say, I don't know, February at the start of a year, and how publishing works, that you might go a little further out. Other questions that typically come to us at the as librarians is getting articles by nurses. Nursing students are often asked this, especially our undergraduates, to find articles where the first author is a nurse. The reason this is such an interesting point to make is that in the sciences and in the social sciences, the order the author is in on the article is not alphabetical. It's order of work. The first author did the bulk of the work. The last author might be somebody who mentored the first author or the team. They might be a subject expert who is helping more people get published. And the people towards the end, sometimes they're just graduate students who are learning to do this process themselves and building their resume and their list of publications. Sometimes somebody just cleaned out a couple beakers, but they're getting credit for helping. Health is really generous. Science can be really generous with the credit it gives people to help build those resumes. But when the first author is a nurse, that means the nurse wasn't just there participating, they were leading the way, which means that a focused perspective on nursing, not just on health. Health research encompasses a ton of subsets. There will be those written by nurses about nursing and what's happening from a nurse's perspective. But there will also be the medical doctors who are talking about their experiences and research as doctors. And then there will be technicians or people doing drug trials. That's a completely different subset that might relate to your work, but isn't about nursing. So, this idea of the first author being a nurse really shifts the perspective and the topic into a nursing sphere, which is often what our nursing students are looking for. So, the professors who ask you for that are asking for this for a specific reason. We might not get too in depth with it today, but there are also evidence-based reviews. This is something that's cut its teeth in the health professionals, but other fields are getting the effect, especially in the social sciences and hard sciences. And the idea is that very often when an article is published, it's done, the research is conducted, the data might be shared, and that's it. Other people might do their own research in related fields or similar fields, but very often the research isn't replicated or shown to be effective beyond this one study. Health is a lot different than just a social science research. It focuses on things that impact all of us daily. So when we talk about evidence, we talk about replicating studies, finding different studies about similar topics, bringing them together and seeing what's an effective treatment or procedure. And it looks at everything it can find. So while the primary research articles are relatively current, these take a few years farther out to get published, which means cutting edge topics don't always have evidence based reviews ready for you. But there's still gaps in research that have to be done and have to be looked at. They also call these systematic reviews, but the evidence based review process is slightly more thorough than peer review or even a systematic peer review. It's a board of approved people who are experts that are making these decisions. If we have time, which means there are no questions and we're still at no people, but that's fine. I'm used to talking to myself on a camera. I do all our videos. So some of the things I'm going to show you today are how to get to those review articles. When your professor says, I want you to get review articles or skip review articles, they're talking beyond the evidence-based review. They might want you to eliminate all review articles, which are systematic and evidence-based, or they might want you to include any review article you can find. But we have a database that will help you find evidence-based reviews, that specific subset of the systematic review. And I'll show you how to get them in the databases that we are looking at. My plan today is to talk to you about 3 databases that we have available to you: CINAHL, Medline, which is also PubMed, but we subscribe to a little bit more, Ovid, which is a lot less user-friendly than CINAHL and Medline, but has a great collection at full text. And if we have time, we'll look at Cochrane, which is where those evidence-based reviews are. Afterwards, I'll take your questions unless they come up. We're already 10 minutes in, so put those questions in the comments and I will keep reminding you to do that, I hope, because you get into these topics and you get into this research and you forget to look at comments, because I will also be looking at this screen right here, our library webpage. And this is where we're going to start. All right. I've got to switch screens and give myself a little view of what's going on. All right. Now, when you're in the library webpage, you have a lot of options, but you always want to begin your research here. You don't want to bookmark the database you're using or try to Google it, because these are specifically coded on our webpage to make sure only you have access to them. You being our community, our students, our faculty, our staff. Students are paying for access to this. These are expensive. We don't give them to the public. We keep them for you, the ones who are paying for it. So these are specifically set up to work for you, to have you log in from off campus. Now I am in my home today, so there might be a login request, but I've also been logged into my email, so it might know me as on campus already. And I put it in quote fingers because it's 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 like a VPN. If you've been paying attention on YouTube and you've seen all these VPN commercials, we use something a little different. Not that, I mean, the campus does have a VPN, but we use something a little different than a VPN to connect to these databases so that it will prompt you to log in if you are not on campus. So it requires you start at our webpage. You can do article quick search, but this for nursing research is going to be overwhelming, and it's not going to give you the bells and whistles that the nursing databases and health databases give you. I suggest starting at the databases link. This is where all of our databases are listed, and there are 228 of them across every field, every subject that our students need. This might be videos from our Canopy collection, or business research, or reference background information. All of it's here on this list. And of course, links to interlibrary loan and our Find Journal by Title search. This is a tool that will, if you are told to go get articles from a specific journal, search journals by title to see where we have access to it, especially the full text of these articles and how much we have, because we don't always have every single issue of a journal online. Some simply aren't digitized yet, others are incredibly expensive, and we have a budget. But you can limit and focus by subject, so you can get the list of databases that are best for you from this list. So we have identified 31 as nursing related, 23 as nutrition. We have other exercise physiology, which probably aligns more to physical therapy. We have public health on the list. My suggestion is, and there's overlap, pick the one that's closest to the research topic you're doing. But there will be, each subject will have very similar databases listed. And here we have our best bets for nursing research. Now, these are ones our librarians decided really will be the best bets for you if you're doing nursing research. So we have CINAHL Plus with full text, the Cochrane collection, that's that evidence-based research articles, and Medline. Medline includes PubMed. Now, PubMed has a lot of free articles on it. But the Medline collection is a little more expanded with some other subscriptions and has full text in it that's easier to discover than PubMed. I'm going to start us in CINAHL. CINAHL is the nursing database, sorry, the dog is shaking it off. He's been sleeping all day. The life of a dog. He's very cute. But CINAHL is our nursing database. It is where nurses are going to get their research, which is why it might not show up on all the other health-related database best bets. When you come into the link, you're given 3 boxes. You noticed "and" is between them, and you can select your field. I'm going to do some really simple, a topic that a professor gave me for this year, climate change. And I'm not going to put anything in there, and health, and let's do mental health. And impact. You'll notice the database, the search engine, because that's what it is suggesting things to me based on what is here. Climate change or global warming or greenhouse effect or climate changes or weather. Now, I'm going to select this one. Notice the "or" between each of these phrases. This signals something specific to the search engine. And this is what Google does. Every time you type in a word, it assumes it could possibly be eliminated from your search. It's going to give you the best results, but if the best results don't have one of these words in it, it's still going to come back. And it tells you, if you look at the search result, it might say a word you've searched and it's crossed out, and then you can click on it and get it included. That's "or." It's telling the search engine, I want climate change or global warming. I'll take either one of those, but one of them has to come back. The same for mental health. So we have here mental health. It's now suggesting or mental illness or mental disorder or psychiatric illness. Again, or, but one has to come back. One of both of these terms and phrases has to come back. And then impact or effect or influence. And tells it both or all, or tells it either. It's a very specific language to search engines, and this works across search engines. They might handle it a little differently, but they're all going to do this. Select a field. I like to keep it open. Some will look at the title to make sure these terms come back. Others will look at the abstract, the summary. But I think you eliminate a little too much at a point where you don't know what you're going to get back. At this point, having too much in your results is not a bad thing. If you scroll down, you'll see some important options. A lot of people will play with these Boolean phrase, find all my search terms. I wouldn't touch it. I would apply equivalent subjects because it's an automatic. I wouldn't apply related words. It's going to start thinking for you. And in research, you really don't want to have this machine thinking for you. You want to be in control. That's what research is about. If you want to make sure it's in English, click on that. There's going to be a lot of languages here. And I'm going to say this about language, and this might not be something all the librarians agree with. For me, if you're going to use a language other than English, it has to be something that you can translate. And very often that's the struggle, is to accurately translate something not in English. So if you and your professor are comfortable with the translation, then yes, include it. But if you can't get a translation that works, I might skip it and focus on English only. I like to click on peer reviewed. Peer reviewed, again, just in case you haven't heard us talk about it before. This is not creme de la creme of research anymore because that's an evidence-based review, but every research article goes through this peer review process. The expert in the subject writes the article, And then let's make that a little bigger. The expert in the subject writes the article, but the person editing them is not an editor. It's a fellow expert. It's their peer. So when you're in a class and you're peer reviewed by your fellow classmates, that's the same process. We're just taking it up a level to someone who's an established expert in the field. And professors get invited to be editors on journals to do this very specific role. It's a prestigious opportunity. So, this is how that works. And you get better articles as a result. Other things here, any author is a nurse, and first author is a nurse. Now, remember about 10 minutes ago, I mentioned this as I was talking. This is something you're actually asked to do in an assignment is to find an article with the first author as a nurse. Take the guessing work out of it. Click the button. Get the articles. They know who's a nurse and who doesn't. They enter that data in the article, and I'll show you where it is because I'm going to click on it to limit this to being first author is a nurse. If you want it to be a research article, there are more than research articles in peer-reviewed journals. Some are those review articles, and here is that evidence-based practice, those evidence-based reviews. Sometimes you might need to limit this to humans or inpatients versus outpatients or pregnancy. What they have found is these are very often limits other people are asking them to create. So they put them right in here for you to easily find. There are journal subsets. This is when you get into advanced level research where you know a lot of different factors. If you're working on a PICO and you're identifying age groups and gender identities or special interests or geographic subsets, this is all here because PICO, the PICOT, is an established way of conducting research and applying this to research. So I will add, gender, sex is not that modern. They have three: male, female, all. The research has not caught up with gender fluidity. So non-binary or trans, it hasn't caught up with that yet. And that's frustrating. And I recognize that. And it might mean that instead of limiting your sex here, if this is the research you're doing, you use your boxes at the top. You can add another box and type in the appropriate gender terms and the variety of gender terms that you might want to include in your research. They might make it into the abstracts and the titles. They're just not making it into this these buckets that they're putting things in. Age is also a great limit when you want to deal with college students. You don't want the 80 and over in a college student subset. You don't even want 45 to 64. But you've got adolescent and adult that sort of hovers between the two. So instead of you trying to think of the terms that might apply, use these. I'm not going to limit to age. I'm going to go back to all. I'm going to avoid any others other than English language, peer reviewed, and first author is a nurse. And then I'm going to search. There is also a search button up here. And I have 4 results. This is a very narrow search. 4 is amazing, but not perfect because these might not be the 4 I need. How do I know if they're the 4 I need? Well, I mean, a lot of people are going to just take the 4 and move on with their lives. But don't do that. I highly encourage you to give these a look. Climate change and mental health implications for nursing. Now, remember I said I'm going to show you how they know the first author is a nurse. There's a lot of little things here. We have our academic journal. We have our subject terms. We have the author, the journal. We have this full text finder. I will talk about that. We have our little magnifying glass, which opens up some of the details of the article for you to see. You can read the abstract. Read the abstract before you print an article or request it during interlibrary loan. You're not wasting our time. I don't want you to waste your time. You are busy. This is a long process, and I want you to not hate it because this can be fun. This is where you learn. But the abstract is a paragraph that summarizes this article. And instead of you reading however many pages this is, let's see, it is, doesn't say the page number on this little section, but this is going to be 5, 10, sometimes 20 pages. Don't read it until you know it's going to be most likely a great article for you. And this abstract's going to help you. You can save it. And if you need to get some information on how to save these articles, I'm more than happy to go over it. Just ask me in the chat so I can remember to do it. And then there's Full Text Finder. Before we get to that, click on the article title. While that magnified piece of paper lets you read all of this, this shows you linked information. Do you want more authors by this author? There's more articles by this author. Here's the link. More from this journal and this issue. Here's the link. More on climate change. Major subject headings, minor subject headings. This is the secret. When you search any search engine, you're searching what we call natural language. It's the way we talk in the world, the way people talk to each other about issues. When librarians do searching, we often like things to be controlled. We call it controlled language. These are what things are about. We like to put things into buckets. And some of my colleagues like to use this analogy too. Google is the ocean. It includes almost everything. Article quick search is pulling from all sorts of databases. So it's sort of like a bathtub, maybe a kiddie pool. Cinol is so specific. It's like the pail you played with at the beach where you scooped up sand and you made sandcastles. It's a small set of results. But we like to put things into smaller buckets so that when you click on climate change, you get all the articles in Cinol about climate change. And we're going to do that so that you can see it. The major ones are these are what this article is about. This is about climate change, mental health, psychiatric nursing, mental disorders, specifically nursing related, and nursing role. We can tell that from the title, Climate Change and Mental Health, Implications for Nurses. We've got our abstract. We've got our journal subset, core nursing, peer-reviewed, USA. We've got all sorts of information here that you might not care about. But how do we know this is a nurse? Well, it's not doing it on my computer today. Here we go, right underneath. It tells you the affiliation of the author. And this is something that I love about peer review and research articles that you can't really get. And they do a little better in the press these days, but the communication lines are different in peer review. This is intended to be conversational to a degree. The people who publish these articles value feedback, especially when it's an intellectual exchange, or you have questions that they might be able to help answer, or you might want to collaborate. If you are a PhD or a DMP student, you might be their future collaborator if this is a topic you're passionate about. So they tell you who these people are, where they work, and very often how to get in touch with them. And that makes this a very different thing than the way we communicate and exchange information with reporters and journalists or bloggers. Some people really do encourage engagement, especially in modern times, but not always. Sometimes there's a wall with people who write and the people who read. But in this case, this is who's written it. They're an assistant professor of nursing at the University of Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania. You could email them if their email address were here. All right, so full text finder, and then I'll show you citations because citations are always a question, and I feel your pain. I will feel your pain forever. They are a pain in the butt, but They have to be done, and we will talk why. So full text finder, what is this? Why is the full text not right here for you? I get it, it's frustrating, but what full text finder does is it's our tool, UMass Lowell's tool, to find the article across all of our resources. And sometimes we have it and sometimes we don't. You can see it thinks we're going to have it on one of these options. So it's giving you the links, but it might not come back. And thus you'll have your interlibrary loan request. It also thinks we have the complete journal that you could browse through. And I'm going to click that just so you can see this browsing tool, which most people never know about. So I'm excited that it's showing up on the list. It literally lets you see the entire article, and it's linking to the article. It's probably going to take you to one of those places. Here we go. It's trying to think now. It's taking us to one of the other databases. We will get to Ovid, presumably. And here you'll be able to see the article itself. And we're going to get back to Ovid in a moment. But this is how browsing works. It's a great tool, but also full text finder will take you to these. You can see full text from Ovid would have taken you right there too. Interlibrary loan. If you are going to use interlibrary loan, it is free. 99.9% of the time. If you do a lot of, and don't let that stop you from making requests. That 0.1% of the time rarely happens to anybody but the most like intensive of researchers. And if you're an undergraduate, you probably just need like 5 or 6 articles, you can keep going. But if this is the one you need, you are writing about climate change and mental health and the impact it has on nursing. This is the article, and you couldn't get it from another link. Interlibrary loan is your answer. You need to create an account the first time you use it. Here it says first time users. This is not automatically created for you, at least not when I'm recording this. We will announce it when it changes. I assure you, we will be so happy to tell you that news. But for now, create your account. You need to create your own username, your own password. I highly encourage something you can easily remember. It will let you create 2 accounts, and then it'll wreak havoc on the system, and you won't be able to get into any, and we'll have to intervene and fix it, and you'll just be frustrated. And I get it. Continue to new user registration. My tips, you'll know this. UMS number, you can get in the SIS system. Department, that is your major. Delivery location. Nursing students sometimes don't think about this one because you're rarely going to request a book for a nursing class, but you might for another elective. And in that case, think about which campus you're on. That's the one you want to pick up at. So if you're at North Campus all the time, or you live on the north side of the river, and you're going to get there easiest, you pick Leiden. If you spend most of your time on South Campus or you live on the south side of the river, select O'Leary. It defaults to Leiden. And if you make a mistake and you don't change it and you're only on South Campus, you'll have to go to North Campus to get your book. Choose your own username, choose your own password, and then submit. Now, I've had an account for far too long. I'll log in. It wants me to change my password. It does this periodically, so I'm going to skip it, but it will automatically add the information you need into the form when you use these links, and it will submit the request for you. Citations. Over here on the right side, this is also why you should click on the article title, because all these fun things are here, including saving, printing, emailing it to yourself. You can create notes if you're logged into your EBSCO account, which is a free account from them. We can't help you. We can help you set it up. But when something goes wrong, this is from the company that makes this, not the university or the library. But you can add notes to articles and you can save them. Export is if you're using a citation manager. If it's just a quick paper, I suggest using Cite. It has the most current version of APA, but please check the citation before you submit your paper. I see glaring problem with this, and that is capitalization. But I only know that these need to be fixed because I'm doing this so often. If you're new to this and you don't know, you want to check against the APA style guide. So I know the C, the M, the H, the N, those have to be lowercase. But it has this DOI number. This is a permanent address to this article in the world. Anytime you paste that into a browser, it'll take you to the journal. We're going to do that now. And this is the journal's page. You can see here, it's a PDF. It says article link, University of Massachusetts Lowell, because I've logged in from the library. So I should trying to see. Nope, it's asking me to pay. This is why we don't want you to go through Google. This is a $40 article. $40. Don't pay that. Please, I beg you, do not pay. You have paid enough. You are paying tuition. I went to college. I know it was a fraction of the expense for me. I still would not have paid $40 for an article. So don't go through interlibrary loan. It is life-changing. I mean, it's $40 life-changing per article. This is not exorbitant either. This is a standard expense for these publications. That's the cost of peer review. So please use interlibrary loan. We are begging you. But if you want to say, ask your professor if this article is useful. You see that up there? Don't use the address bar address. It's wonky and it disappears in like 5 seconds as useful. Over here is a permalink. This is the permanent link into the database, and it is coded to if you need to log in to get it. So it won't tell you, no, you're off campus, you can't have it, you've got to pay that $40. It's going to make sure you get it from off campus. So use this link. Always use this link. I want to click before we go on climate change because I want to show you one other feature of how you can take control. Now, we only got 4 results last time. It's not a big set of results to manage, but nearly 2,000, it is. And all of those features from before are now here on your left. Currency. You can see this doesn't go back too far, but 2006, for many of you, you were too young to know climate change was a problem, or you were just learning climate change was a problem. We talked about at the very beginning, we like a 5-year frame for currency. But if you are at the beginning of a year like now, that 5-year range, you would limit yourself if you only looked at the literal 5 years, 2023 to 2018. So I'm going to do 2017 to give myself a little more of a push. And then I'm going to see what my new set of results. And it shaved off a couple hundred. It's not terrible, but it's not wonderful. And then I'll have options like those subject major headings. Did I now want to look at nursing role? Okay, let's get into that nursing. This is the nursing database. Now I'm down to 55 that are about climate change and nursing role. And you can see now there's a whole new set of subject headings with smaller numbers. If I now realize, okay, I've got to limit, I know a specific age group, I know a specific gender, I know a specific geography, I really do want to focus on the US. Get those 39 articles. And you can keep going down. It'll take you down as small as it can get, but it will give you at least one result if you use this toolbar on the left side. That's an all. There's so much more here, but I want to show you Medline. And I'm going to check, no questions. Still quiet. It's a quiet day. That's fine. It's almost President's Day. All right. So the other one that is really good is Medline. So if Cinol is a small bucket related to nursing, Cinol is a bigger one related to all of medicine, but it looks the same because it's from the same company. but the options are different. This is no longer a nursing database, so the nursing options are gone. But you have your evidence-based medicine reviews. Those are those systematic reviews. You have review articles, which are the greater systematic reviews, human versus animal. Again, the sex options are very limited. They will catch up someday. They will. You have your age related, your subjects, your citation subset, your languages, your animals, which is the big difference here. Because this is all of medicine, this does include drug trials and animal testing. So if you're looking for things focused on a specific animal, and there might be a little veterinary research in here. Sometimes it does happen. So you can see that, yeah, there's a bunch of animals here. I'm going to do the very broad search of climate change. We'll give it the global warming and the greenhouse and nursing. I am going to limit myself to those scholarly peer-reviewed journals and nothing, and English language, and that's it. Now, by telling it nursing, it's going to look for the word nursing to show up somewhere in the information about the article, whether it be the title, the subject, the abstract. And you can see we weren't as specific in our search as we had been in CINAHL, but we are still getting over 1,000 back. And again, our toolbar on the left is our control panel. So now we're going back to 1950, and we want to change that to 2017. And now we're down to 603. It not being a huge difference from 1950 to 2017 means this is a relatively current topic that people are talking about now, as opposed to historically. Again, we'll have our major headings, our language, our age, our gender, our geography, so that we can limit. Now, when we do have an article in full text, and you can do this linked full text option, but a lot of our most current articles do have what we call an embargo. And that simply means that we have to wait a certain amount of time before Medline will have it. And CINAHL has it a bit too. A lot of subjects have this embargo. It has to do with the publishers of these journals, these magazine-like publications where these articles are. They are profit making. They are for-profit publishers, so they want to maximize their profit. That means they want us to subscribe directly to the journal instead of getting it through these databases. This, I think, is an easier getting it through a database is an easier way to get it because it's about the discovery, but they want us to pay for both, which is expensive. And you've paid these, so we want to make sure we maximize your what you have paid for these. So sometimes we have the journals that we think are the most important, other times we don't. You can see here, this one says linked full text. What this will do is take me to the linked full text that it has found already, but it does have full text finder so that you can see if somewhere else has it. And here is the journal. We have this journal because someone identified it at some point in time as important for us to subscribe to. And if you scroll, it'll show you the PDF. This is a fun little animation. I'm here for it. And here's our article. We do have a video on our channel that you can go back and watch, where I break down a couple of different research articles to show you what all of this means. And then we have another video somewhere on our YouTube channel that talks about which portions might be most helpful for undergraduates who might be writing a paper on this and overwhelmed with the information available to them. So those are there. The same rules apply for your getting your citation, the permalink, the links here. You can see now we have a lot of authors. This Jay Hartfield did most of the work, and yes, probably isn't a nurse. because they're in the School of Medicine, and it doesn't say. But our third author, who has done a significant amount of work, is in the School of Nursing. So we have two people from the School of Nursing. So that means nursing was a part of this, but not necessarily the first two authors were nurses or in the nursing program. So there's just little tweaks that are different between the two databases. And sometimes they'll show you their references right here. We have 15 minutes left. I don't see any questions. We're still really quiet, which is, again, still fine. I can show you Ovid. All right, so where's Ovid on this list? It's not in your best bets, but if you click on O, it will take you to our two Ovid options. Ovid is a really great database for the older research. So when you're given an assignment, and I believe this is still done, where uh, as nursing students have to find an article that is the original development of a nursing theory or a nursing practice. And they know who developed this theory, so they have to find that person. And then the articles they wrote that mention the theory or the practice. This is where Ovid is your best bet. If you're looking at alternative medicines, this might be your best bet. Click on the full text content. This is a moment where I'm not going to pretend that the abstracts are just as important. You're here for the full text content with Ovid. So limit your search to that. It brings you in with one box, and here are some limits. It's not as user-friendly and giving you the ability to control the way that CINAHL and Medline are. But it does have this multi-field search, and it does some things that are pretty freaking awesome that I mean, I'm a librarian, so my sense of awesome is skewed by my love of information and interconnectivity of information. But we're going to do climate change, nursing. Notice it doesn't make suggestions. It's you need to go into this knowing all your potential search terms. And is between, I can do, or greenhouse, or nurses, healthcare, professionals. You can keep going. You have your limits. They're a little hidden now, but you can limit by publication year. So I'm going to take it back to 2017 and do current. The journal subsets, we have a lot here. There is behavioral and social science, health professions, medical humanities. I love this list. I love seeing here what's here. Public health, traditional Chinese medicine. I mean, come on, it's awesome. There's so much more here. Pharmacology is here in a very different way. So you can see there's a lot of variety and there's a lot of content. And if you want to limit to the research articles, you go with original articles. It means it's not the origin of a theory necessarily. It is compared to a systematic or review article. It's the original research. It's what these review articles are based on. So they're research articles when they're labeled here as original articles. And I'm going to search. It takes a while. I have never had a fast set of results in Ovid. And usually when I make a video with Ovid, I just cut the dead silence out. Now, one thing that Ovid doesn't do as seamlessly as CINAHL and Medline are your citations. It will show other people's citations wonderfully, but not your citations. So it does require you pulling the information out a little differently when you have to write a citation. Okay, so here are our results, but it's showing me right here. It says search history. Now, CINAHL does search history too. Medline does search history. And graduate students, I'm happy to show you how to find that so you can connect all your results when you report that in your research. But for this case, Ovid does two searches. One, it searches all my terms and it comes back with 655 results. But then it does a second search where it applies these, whatever I have limited it to. And in this case, I just did the date range. So what it's showing me below is this 128, but I could go back and get those 655 if I wanted to expand my time range. But 155, 128 for a set of results here is pretty good. You can see it's highlighting the terms it's found, where it's found them. I know you see this link source here that is full text finder, but you've got your articles right here for you to go to. You do have a cite feature. I think that this is a new thing. Yes, they have fixed this since I was last here. So here is your citation. Please, again, check your capitalizations. I think this one needs a fix. But notice, unlike CINAHL and Medline, it's not showing you which version of APA. You can safely assume it is the current one. These companies do keep up with the citation styles to make sure that these reflect accurately. So let's say we liked this article. We want to know a little more. You could just download the article. I again suggest reading the abstract. I always will, but it will show you a lot of the information right here. The author's information, again, look at these lists, and here's your contact information for the professor that wants to be the contact. You can see, and this is something that people can't appreciate for peer review, is the length of time it takes. Not only did it take them years to conduct this research, they're not telling you when they submitted the article, but from the day they accepted it in May of 2022 to the day it got up on the website, June 27th, that's nearly 2 months it took them after they submitted it. The editors and peers read it, made suggestions, made corrections, resubmitted it, went through that process again. It goes through till they're all happy over and over and over again. This was just 2 months to go from this is the version that is the best to let other people read it. 2 months. It can take a while. All right, so this is the actual text of the article. But this is my favorite part. You like this article, you want to read the articles they included in their literature review. Here they are. Linked full text, we'll try to find it. Ovid full text, we'll have it. This very often will connect you right to our full text finder so you can see if we have the article elsewhere or get it through interlibrary loan. This will make your life just a scotch easier. It's something I love. And now it's taken me away from everything. All right, back button. So this is a powerful option. If it says Ovid full text, it is right here in Ovid for you to get. So you can use the references of other articles to get more articles. And I will say this over and over again, searching these databases is only going to get you so much. There's going to be a point where you need to stop, read what you have, see if their references are helpful, and then try to get those. As an undergraduate, especially as a freshman, you might not need to. There might be such an abundance for you at this phase that this isn't worried. But when you're a graduate student, it's critical that you get everything written about a topic or as much as you can find. And that's when you're only going to find so much. Again, go Google Scholar, go beyond these subjects, talk to a librarian. We are here to help you. You don't necessarily have the time and energy to remember all of these things. We will be here to help you. We are here to guide you. I'm not going to have time to show you Cochrane, but it is an evidence-based collection. It is got other things. So there is a video, a relatively recent video that you can use to research to get a sense of how to do it, to see the demo. But back to our library webpage, a few things before we sign off. One, no questions. Okay, back to the webpage. So we are here to help you. The university librarians want to make sure that not only do you graduate with the grades and the degree you want to go into the job you want. We want you to be successful in every class with every paper. And thus, we are here to help you. Again, there are so very few of us, but we're growing. And so will our services as we grow. So our library webpage has a link to Ask a Librarian. You are welcome to email the librarians if you know one that you really want to work with and you think can help you. There are sections of the webpage that will identify them. But if you're struggling with your research, the best place to go is Ask a Librarian. Not only do we have a FAQ collection that answers a lot of the questions we've gotten over the years, and you all have the same problems because these are the same assignments over and over. You're not alone in your frustrations. We know that. So we've created these FAQs based on the questions we get. But if your question isn't here or it's new and you're positive it's new, you can email us at ask@umlthebansers.com to get one-on-one help from one of the librarians in response via email. And if you're an online student, this is the best way to reach us. The phone numbers, they might connect you to somebody, but not necessarily someone who can help. They might end up referring you to this page. So submit your emails with your email address or from an online form if you find it. We also do live chat in the evenings. Again, perfect for our online only students or those who work all day and only have time to do their research in the evenings or Friday afternoon. This is when you can find us. We have 2 hours on live chat, and this is the librarian who's going to sit there and type and talk to you and even do a Zoom if necessary. So do not hesitate to talk to us. I want to thank you. Well, mostly, oh, someone came on at the very end, but thank you to those of you watching on the replay. The person who came on, if you have a quick question, we still have 4 more minutes. But this will be available for replay anytime that you want to watch it. We're only going to keep doing these. The next live stream will be on March 13th after spring break. What's the topic? Don't know yet. Probably going to be some of the same things we've talked about: searching databases, getting citations, interlibrary loan, getting help. But who knows what subject we'll cover? We're still working out those details, and spring break is between now and then. Aren't you excited? Spring break. A week of maybe sleeping. But if you like this video, that gets more people to pay attention to it. But most importantly, if you subscribe to the channel, you'll get notified the next time we set up a live stream so that you can join us live and ask your questions in the moment. This is not the only opportunity to get support this week. When you are on the library webpage, if you scroll down past the hours, you'll see that we have 2 live workshops this week in O'Leary Library. One is going to be primarily history research, doing research on about primary resources. Those are well, it's going to take more of a history perspective, but it could be a scientific or health perspective. This is like the data, the original items that you are using for your research. When you are conducting research, when you are searching a database and a search engine, you are looking at a literature review. So the primary sources are a different thing. And then on the 16th, on Thursday, research for social sciences. Nursing is technically a social science as well as a health science. So if you need some more help with your health research, these are in the libraries and times requested by faculty and students. So 3:30 on Tuesday, 2 on Thursday, both in O'Leary, both on the second floor of O'Leary, not the mezzanine. So again, thank you for rewatching this. If you popped in and then popped back out, thank you for coming, even if it was just briefly. And let us know in the comments what other topics you think we should cover for future live streams. And I will see you on the 13th for our next one.